Hello and welcome back to Freedom Tech Friday, a weekly live and interactive show hosted on the Ungovernable Misfits X, Noster, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitch feeds. And I think we do have a full house this weekend, gents. So it is a momentous occasion. We go live for 1 hour every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern or 2 p.m. UK time. And you can, of course, catch up later on the Ungovernable Misfits podcast feed. On Freedom Tech Friday, we like to cover the latest news, trends for anything relating to freedom technologies. That could be anything from Bitcoin or Monero, encrypted messengers, privacy tools, and everything in between. Essentially, if there's a news item, tool, or topic that can help you take back some control in today's digital panopticon, we want to talk about it. My name is Q&A, and I'm head of customer experience at Foundation, where we build Bitcoin-focused sovereignty tools. As always, I am joined by my good friends Max, the head honcho of the Ungovernable Misfits Empire, and Seth, who is COO at Cake Wallet. Freedom Tech Friday is a live and interactive show, and you can help steer the conversation by commenting live. If the chat was actually working, it doesn't seem like it is. I'm going to work on that, guys. Pre-submitting your questions or topics on socials, boosting the show via Podcasting 2.0 apps, sending in tips, or just sharing the show with your friends. Top support from last week's show, where we covered off Apple and the privacy trade-offs that come with the walled garden, comes from none other than Late Stage Hodl, who sent 6,006 sats and said, "Quick boost before I forget," or "Quick boost before I forget." You can read that however you like. Thank you for your support, as always, Late Stage Hodl. Without further ado, let's dive into the show. Max, Seth, how are you going, gents?
Good morning, y'all. I'm doing pretty well. It's been a good week. Everyone's healthy. Good topic today. Get to talk about some fun stuff. So I'm doing well.
Me too. I'm hoping you tell me that this Clawbot can do all the stuff that I hate doing, and we can all relax a little bit. So I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't want to stick around for the next 60 minutes, basically the TLDR is you can all retire. You're all going to lose your jobs. It looks like the chat's not working yet again, guys. Just to be clear, we can see your messages. Well, I can see your messages coming through in the back end on Restream. I've tried turning it off and on again. I can imagine Jordan sat there tearing his hair out right now, as am I, trying to fix this. But I have no idea why they're not working. It is, yeah.
At least this time it doesn't show for me either. So
interesting.
Yeah, I can't see it in the studio either.
You may see some random things pop up in a minute, guys, while I try and fix it. Oh, here we go. What's this?
Oh,
okay.
That is it. Yeah, that is it. You just don't see the images.
It looks a bit different than normal. Oh,
yeah,
God.
SX6. Here he is. Fuck.
Okay. I think we're in business. It seems absolutely massive compared to normal. There we go. Look at this. Jordan, all faith is restored in me.
Well done,
back
mate.
on the top of the pile. So yeah, well, we both had busy weeks, guys. How are we both?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. We got a big release that we've been working on, so we're trying to nail that down. A bunch of the teams out in Mexico City for Monerotopia, but I stayed home, so I'm enjoying home.
Nice. Any little teasers on the what's in the release? Anything big worth noting?
Both of y'all know the majority of it, but the main teaser and Vic's already leaked all of the alpha, so there's not a whole lot.
Happy doing that, I have noticed.
He does. He's our resident intern as well as CEO. Biggest things are Lightning finally, and then a new UI from the ground up that we're finalizing. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, testing that, finding all the issues, improvements, getting that ready. But Lightning honestly has been ready for a good month or two now. Just been trying to finalize this new design that will pair well with it and give people a whole nice new cake.
It's I've had a sneak peek behind the curtain, and I can tell everybody that's listening to this or watching this, it does look incredible. The new UI is chef's kiss. So hats off to the whole team. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one being public. Max, what about you? Busy week? Have you been doing more woodwork or been dealing with sick kids?
I have actually. I've been doing some more stuff on the house. No sick kids. I've been messing around with AI lots. Not OpenClaw, but just like image generation stuff, making some more videos for different shows in the Ungovernable show list, doing all sorts of different artwork and bits and pieces, trying to clone voices, do all sorts of stuff. Been playing around with AI, but just still in the dumb old way, which is taking a lot of time.
Glad to hear it. And I wouldn't normally do this such at the top of the show, but Lake Surfer has just stabbed us on Noster with 21,000 sats.
Oh, you legend.
Saying, calling Chicago Misfits. We are in the process of putting together a Bitcoin co-working / restaurant / event space. If you want to get involved, check out FOISE, spelled FOISE, on Noster for events. Well, thank you for your support. I know it was a soft ad, but that's fine by me.
That's all right. 21,000 sat ad is reasonable on here. I think that's very good. Thank you.
Yeah, well received. Okay, well, we've digressed for too long already, as we always do. Okay, today, big one. We're talking about arguably one of the most hyped, if not the most hyped, open source projects in recent memory, OpenClaw. If you've been anywhere near tech Twitter, GitHub, or any of the usual socials in the past couple of weeks, you've probably seen this thing absolutely everywhere. 150,000 and climbing GitHub stars. I believe it's broke a record to be the fastest climbing or fastest rated GitHub repository in such a short space of time. 2 million visitors in a single week. Mac Mini selling out because people want to self-host it. More on that bit later. The pitch is, quite compelling, and on the surface of it, it seems to tick a lot of boxes. An open source self-hosted AI agent that runs on your own hardware, connects to the messaging apps that you've already got, manages your files, and can run completely offline with local models, with an asterisk. No cloud dependency, again, another asterisk. No corporate middleman, another asterisk. And your data stays with you, final asterisk. Sounds like Freedom Tech, right? Well, as with all of those asterisks, there's a lot to unpack here. The grass does seem that it's quite green inside this new ecosystem. But in the last 2 weeks, security researchers have uncovered hundreds of malicious plugins, stealing crypto wallets, API keys, thousands of exposed instances open directly to the internet. Basically, people just opening their computer up to people on the internet, which can enable all sorts of shit like critical remote code execution vulnerabilities, and even nation state groups are circling the wreckage as well. So today we're asking the question that matters for anybody that's in and around this space. When an open source AI agent promises you sovereignty but ships with what seems like an absolute minefield of security holes, is it freedom tech? Is it a trap, or is it somewhere in between? Before we get into it, as always, we're going to set the scene with what the hell is OpenClaw in a minute. I'm just curious whether any of you guys have got to grips with it yet. I know you're both busy guys. Have you had a chance to install it on your personal computer and give it all of your API keys?
I personally have not. Both time constraints, but more honestly, I don't really want an agentic AI running on my machine. Specifically because of, we'll get into a lot of this throughout the show, but the two biggest caveats for me are that while OpenClaw itself runs on your machine, the actual model that you're querying all this data against generally is not running on your machine. I don't have anything powerful enough here to give me the performance level I would want if I was to use this running the agent or the model actually locally. So then I would be sending all of this data off to who knows where, to ChatGPT, to Anthropic, to whoever. So in general, if I could run it against a local model that I'm actually hosting at home, I would maybe do it. But even then, the combination of my cybersecurity background and privacy background are like throwing all the red flags at this type of thing and warranting a lot of caution. So for me, I'm kind of letting it ride out a little bit, seeing where it ends up. And I definitely will want to try it, but honestly, I won't touch it until I can actually run it against a local model so that I can have some privacy, even if the security is still an issue.
Max, have you managed to break it yet?
I would have if I'd tried, but I'm sort of just holding back a little bit, watching what the smart people do, seeing how they get tripped up, and just saving myself some time this time, because over the years I've always jumped in way too early with things and just wasted so much time and pulled so much hair out that I think I'm just getting older and wiser and just learning to stay back. So I'm desperate to do it, but similar kind of privacy concerns without knowing exactly what they are. It just feels as though if I was to do this, I would not only fuck it up and break it, but potentially dox myself and cause myself major issues. So I'm waiting.
Okay, well, I have dipped my toes in very gently on a sanitized Linux machine that doesn't have Sparrow or any of my API keys or anything important, just to kind of test the waters a little bit. And it's been a frustrating experience, as you might expect with a brand new open source tool. My main problem, and we'll probably dive into this a little bit more after we've set the scene, but my main problem was that I was trying to do it on the cheap. And I just quickly ran into rate limits for all of the free models that are out there. So trying to do any sizable piece of work, which is where, for me, the rubber really meets the road with this sort of stuff, is offloading larger tasks that are, kind of like admin based. You still are going to either have to have some beefy hardware, like Seth alluded to earlier, so that you can run a decent local model. Or you're going to have to pay for, an API service from one of the big few, which comes with it, all of the privacy trade-offs and obviously cost trade-offs as well. But I'm going to get into that a bit later on. So just to set the scene, what is OpenClaw? I'll kind of lead us off here. Created by a chap called Peter Steinberger, who I believe is a very well-off Austrian dev who had a very successful exit. I think he did some sort of PDF reader document company that he managed to sell for like 100 million euros. So this is basically a weekend project that he started back in November last year that seems to have blown up much bigger than I'm sure he anticipated. It was originally called, it's had a number of iterations. It's been Claudebot, with a Claude as in claws of a lobster, I guess. However, Anthropic decided that they didn't like that and sent their lawyers after him and said, basically, you ain't calling it Claudebot because it sounds like our trademark, essentially. So then he had the terrible decision to rename it to Maltbot, which lasted for about 24 hours, and the whole of the internet told him he was a retard. And then he renamed it to OpenClaw on, I believe that was about 2 weeks ago now. And this is kind of like the name that seems to be sticking, thankfully, which is, OpenClaw is much better than Maltbot, and it kind of leans into the open source nature of at least the front end. As I said, it's absolutely exploded on GitHub, and the concept essentially is an autonomous AI front end. I'm reluctant to call it an AI agent because, as Seth said, like you need to give this an LLM, a large language model, to plug it into to do all of the lifting. The open source bit, like the people have been going wild for, is kind of like a front end that enables you to speak to any of those models, and you can configure one or you can configure 50 different models depending on what you've got access to. You can run it on your own hardware, literally anything from a Raspberry Pi all the way up to, some people are buying 10, 20,000 pound Mac Studios to run this thing on. It connects to your messaging apps, which is, for me, is one of the key developments here, is that rather than having to go to chatgpt.com or claude.ai or anything like that and having like a sanitized experience where you have to go to a specific place, once you've got OpenClaw set up on whatever hardware that you have, you can then configure it to message you on Signal or Telegram or anything like that, so that you can be out doing the weekly shop with the kids and be like, I wonder if I can just get my AI overlord to get me to do some tasks for me. Let me just message him on Signal. So it's, and obviously they have the ability to respond there as well. So you can have that back and forth basically anywhere in the world, so that you can do anything that you would normally do with AI, but from your phone. That's a big part to me. The nature that this runs on, ideally on some hardware that you control, it basically has God mode to whatever's on that computer. That could be all of the files, shell commands. It can access the web browser. It can do anything you can do, essentially. And if you then supercharge that with access to your Gmail and to your calendar, like, it is capable of doing one hell of a lot of things. Now, you could view that as a good thing from a productivity perspective. You could also see that as an absolute privacy nightmare. And I'm sure many people listening to this, myself included, share that viewpoint. As I said, it's model agnostic, right? You can bring your own, OpenAI API keys, your Claude API keys, or you can connect it fully locally to Ollama if you've got hardware beefy enough to be able to kind of handle this sort of stuff. So it really is kind of like a front end that enables you to kind of choose your own journey. And then the final bit I'll pause on before I let you guys come in is that another part of the kind of ecosystem here is they have the concept of plugins. And there's already been like over 5,000 different they're called skills, but they're essentially just plugins. They're additional kind of tutorials or pieces of software or things that your bot can do tailored to a specific thing. So it could be, the ability to crawl Reddit and do some research, the ability to go on YouTube and download a transcript, the ability to create a full marketing plan based on some criteria you give it. Like anything you can type into an AI agent, you can turn that into a skill and have it as a reusable kind of tool for your OpenClaw to be able to leverage. Any questions, or have I missed anything glaringly obvious to set the scene for somebody who's been living under a rock for the past month or so, guys?
Not from my side. I think you covered that well, mate.
Yeah, agreed. I think you nailed the core majority of it. Sorry, I was double muted there. It's honestly, like, I think interesting that it's so hyped because it's not really anything new. Like, this agentic AI thing has been a buzzword for 6 months, 9 months at least. Mm-hmm. But I think the novel part of it is that now you can actually choose the agent and you can choose what the agent can do, and you can connect it to the AI backend you want, which was a lot of the issues before. It was like you could have Microsoft Copilot, which is in some ways agentic AI, but it's awful and it's selling all your data to Microsoft and who knows who else. And the same with a lot of the other like agentic AI that had been available. Is they're just proprietary black boxes that you don't get to choose anything about. You just choose whether or not you use it. And a lot of times they're deeply integrated into your system, whether you like it or not. Whereas OpenClaw gives you that control. I would hesitate to call it freedom tech because the way people will normally use it wouldn't really be, but it has a lot of the underpinnings of freedom tech, and that it is open source and gives you the choice and ultimately the responsibility for how you use it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to do a bit, moving forward, bit of a deeper dive on how you can run this because, like you say, this is just open source software at the end of the day. It's a front end for you to be able to talk to any number of different AI agents, and two people can use it in two very different ways and get two very, very different outputs. So once you decide that you want this, and there's actually, it can do things for you that benefit you, you can choose to have it live in a number of places. You can install it with a single command on any computer, laptop, desktop, single board computer that you have access to. My strong advice, and I don't think I'll get any pushback here, is do not install it on your primary device unless you are a very competent developer that wants to do some very complex things and you like to breathe fire whilst juggling knives at the same time. Otherwise, do this on a dedicated machine. A lot of people have been leaning towards like an old laptop or a mini PC, hence the Mac Minis that all of the YouTube influencers seems to be painting as the machine to run this on, which I believe is complete overkill. But enough people seem to be following them because Mac Minis are selling out fast everywhere. Or a lot of people have also been running this on a virtual machine as well, which is, I guess, if you don't have access to a spare laptop or desktop, then is potentially a viable alternative. But again, it comes with privacy trade-offs that this is not your computer and it can be turned off or taken over by whoever's computer is actually, managing that VM. So again, I would tread very carefully if you wanted to kind of go down that route. Once you set it up, which again, to be clear, is a single command. to install it onto whatever machine you're accessing. You'll then be taken into a TUI, which is a new terminology on me. I've not heard it before, but it's basically a terminal user interface. Those of you that are familiar with like Sparrow Server or Ronin Dojo or anything like that, it's the same sort of thing where you have like a guided onboarding where you can configure it in any which way you want, tell it which kind of messenger you want to communicate to it with. You can give it all of your various different API keys for OpenAI or whatever AI you use, or if it's on a beefy machine with a local model pre-installed, you can point it at that as well. I'd be very keen to try that one out at some point in the future. And then after that, you're met with, you can either start communicating with this thing through the configured messenger, WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, Discord, I believe as well. And you, provided that you've given it, the ability to speak to an AI agent somewhere, be that on your machine or in the cloud, you can then go and do all of the wonderful things that you would normally do with AI, which is kind of like open-ended essentially. Anything from, help me fix the spelling on my blog post, all the way up to help me write an app that rivals Cake Wallet. The sky is literally your limit as to what you can try and achieve with this sort of thing. Any questions on how you would kind of implement that, guys? Because is anything you want to double click on to kind of spell out for the people? Main takeaway would be spare computer that you have control of the hardware on would be the strong recommendation here.
Yeah, my question is, if you are going to run it on your own hardware and you are going to run a local model so that, you know where your data is, especially if it's for tasks that would matter if it got out, what sort of computing power are we talking about to run something? I keep giving the same example, but for me, giving all of the images that we have, all of the artwork, all of the audio, all of the logins, all of the stuff that we do for social media, doing all the stuff that between us we do, and putting that on one computer with it, so with everything local, what sort of money are you having to spend? Is a Mac Mini actually what you need to run? My guess is it's probably that there's something else you could do much cheaper. Like how much needs to be invested compared to just saying, oh, fuck that, I'm going to use Mine Inbox and just pay them for a few months and see whether this thing works? Yeah,
so two clear distinctions here. You can run the OpenClaw software on pretty much anything, even something as shit as a Raspberry Pi. The real question is, where is all the heavy lifting being done? If you want to do that locally, for the sorts of stuff that you're asking for, like image gen, like a Mac Mini is not going to cut it. You might get away with something like a small version of Olama on like a Mac Mini, where you can do some text-based stuff where you'll probably have a little bit of a wait, but it will help you, I don't know, write blog posts, or it will help you come up with some tweets to promote all the shows in your example, Max. But if you start trying to do like clipping audio, doing image gen, like you're talking, you need some big hardware here, with probably with a dedicated GPU or something like that. Again, I'm just going off what I hear on YouTube videos on the topic. Like you need some serious piece of hardware. Like there's people that are trying to achieve like Claude level or OpenAI level performance, and they have like 2-3 Mac Studios chained together in, I think it's called in parallel, and they're like 10K a pop.
Shit.
So like,
okay,
if you're used to, you have the $20 a month Claude subscription where you can get by and you get snappy answers, it can do pretty much any of your tasks. If you're used to that level of performance, trying to match that on something local is possible, but you're going to have to pony up, and the ROI is going to be very, very quite a long time. Now, obviously, price is only part of that, because you've also got the privacy aspect of it as well. How much do you value that versus your $20 subscription and letting OpenAI or Claude or whoever deal with or see all of the information? Like for you, if it's stuff related to the show that's going to be public anyway, I would say probably just use the API keys, use the most up-to-date model, and it's going to be the fastest workflow. if it's going to be something like I'm a self-employed window cleaner and I need it to work out all of my taxes, here's my bank statements. I ain't giving that to OpenAI. So there's lots of things to consider here. But if you're going to run this locally, which I would love to do at some stage, all things point towards like it's quite expensive at the moment. Seth, I don't know whether you've got any other hot takes on that.
Yeah, I mean, for the normal stuff that a normal person actually needs to get done, as long as you're not in a rush, you could self-host this on something. I mean, I probably wouldn't go like less than a Mac Mini, honestly. When you can get a Mac Mini for like $400, I just can't imagine that you're getting something for less than that you'll actually enjoy running Olama on or dealing with any of this on. But for that, I think like Q mentioned, anything that's essentially not image generation, you'd be okay. You'll have to wait a little bit. But a lot of honestly, a lot of the way that people use AI, that's totally fine. It could be, like you said, maybe it's, hey, this is the show title for this week. Come up with a tweet to put out on all different platforms and post it. That's not something that you need done in 3 seconds. That can be fine if you just send the prompt and you walk away or you start working on something else and then you have it message you when it's done or something like that. A lot of the general use cases, like it's going to be drastically slower than what you're used to if you've been using ChatGPT or Claude directly or something. But a lot of times that's totally fine. You can go do something else while you have it do its work. That's the whole point of agentic AI is you get to do other things instead of the thing that you're having the AI do. So I think it's generally like, yeah, I think it would be fine for a lot of that. I probably wouldn't go below a Mac Mini unless you are really a glutton for punishment. Like it gets pretty bad when you don't have enough CPU or RAM to even keep some of it in memory. But that's a pretty good. Yeah.
Sorry, Seth. I just interrupt quickly while it's in my head. Could you do something where it's like a bit of a hybrid of both, where with some clever permissioning or something, you could say, run everything locally other than image generation, and I want you to do that using Midjourney, and then pull it back down. Like you're going to generate for me.
That's exactly what OpenClaw can do.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be, I know I can do image generation elsewhere, but I'm very happy paying the subscription on Midjourney. Like it does such a fucking good job. I'm used to it. And then my thinking was like, okay, this thing can probably get me like 80% of the way there. And then I'll go in and I'll do adjustments for most things. But doing image generation of that quality locally, totally get you're going to have to be spending a fortune. But outside of that part, most of what we do is not that heavy. It's already done either by me or some other AI which we're paying for. So maybe that's like a middle ground.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Go ahead, Kim. Go ahead.
We already live in that world. Like your workflow is a prime example of where you can really leverage this sort of stuff. Like most of what you create is going out public, so privacy is less of a trade-off. You can kind of slowly build up like I guess it would be classed as a skill where you could teach this AI to say, okay, we've just finished recording Freedom Tech Friday. Let's go through all the things that every week I want you to do. I want you to download the audio. I want you to write a transcript from it. I want you to go through that transcript, and I want you to pull out all of the hot takes and clip them up for me and put them into, so that we can turn them into tweets. I want you to use my Midjourney API subscription to go ahead and generate me a thumbnail for the video and for the podcast feed and stuff. Like you could do all of that after a little bit of training in a one bang from your phone on Telegram. Like that world is already here. And if you know what you're doing, you can make that happen. Yes, you're going to have to pay for it, but you're already paying for it. It's just that OpenClaw is now going to be like a single interface for you to be able to kick off that process.
Well, and you're paying for it in like the time that it takes. We're talking about Freedom Tech. Freeing your time is a big one.
Absolutely.
Like,
oh yeah.
Just the shit for one show that we do takes like 12 hours of like fucking around with like artwork and clipping and tweets and like all the stuff, and then editing all the stuff like in the background. So even if it took 50% of that off per show, that's worth a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I'm most bullish about this is time saving for menial tasks for me, like both the stuff I do at Foundation and prepping for this show. Like that's taken me significantly less time, and the output is just as high, if not better. Like researching topics, coming up with Noster notes, tweets, show notes, all that sort of stuff is just becoming far easier, and it gets better and better as the AI learns more about my preferences. And I'm comfortable like sharing that sort of thing because, like I say, all of this is public anyway. We're literally on a live stream on YouTube right now talking about it. Like it's perfect for that sort of stuff. It absolutely, I just love it for that. This is while we're talking about this subject of like maybe doing it locally, Jordan just posted that Sovereign Bitcoin, the Telegram group user Sneed, mentions that he thinks computer prices are going to 8x due to demand from the industry. So if you're going to experiment with these things, make sure that you make those purchases sooner rather than later. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about 8x, but I can definitely see us heading in that general direction. You can already see that by the Mac Mini hype that's come out literally in the last couple of weeks. Just a quick question from the Noster chat while we're talking about this sort of stuff, and I think we've probably already answered this, Max, but Observer asked, did you do local or remote AI testing for image gen and voice cloning?
Sort of. I tried. No, I didn't try local, to be fair, actually. I looked into doing it and read a load of reviews and stuff, and basically it was terrible. And I did try other options outside of Midjourney, and they were absolutely disgusting. Like Adobe's one was fucking horrible. I find the one on X to be pretty shitty for what I want to do, at least. What else did I try? I tried one where I pay with Monero. I can't remember what it was called now, like a paid per generation.
Pay-per-queue.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So for me anyway, I was just like, no, it's just not worth my time. Like a lot of it is just like knowing how to use the tool. And once you get comfortable with something, like people who use Adobe Photoshop, like I can't imagine anyone wanting to put themselves through that torture because it is the worst interface I've ever seen in my life. But once you're used to it, people stay with it. So I guess it's a bit of that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, all right. Let's get on to the elephant in the room here, because it sounds like it's like a productivity utopia, and it can be in the right context. But as we alluded to at the top of the show, there is a shit ton of risks and considerations that you should have if you're considering on running this software. There is a lot of and this is not just like kind of theoretical. There have been so many leaks already of like different people's personal information. So I want to get into like, what should people be considering when they're looking to go down this rabbit hole? Seth, I know this was like a hot part of the conversation that you wanted to get in, so I'll hand it to you first. But like, if somebody's never done this before, like what are the top things that you're going to say, look, don't do this, and be careful about this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this comes back to the same issues we've raised about AI in the past. Like we've talked about this quite a bit in different episodes previously, especially in the one with the folks at Maple AI. To me, it really comes down to three main things that people need to think about. One, we've covered this already quite a lot today, which is privacy. Where are you sending all of this data to be processed? The default is sending it to Claude and trusting them with info about the most intimate parts of your life. Like if you're giving them access to your email, to your calendar, to your messages, they will know everything about your children. They'll know when you're going to the doctor. They will know that bill that you haven't paid and you're being harassed about. Like they will know everything about you. Even worse than a lot of us talking about this surveillance state kind of issue think about being possible, because normally a lot of this stuff is kind of segmented, at least between different companies. But now and I'll use a phrase from Meredith Whitaker from Signal, because she's talked a lot about this very presciently months and months ago. but you're kind of breaking this blood-brain barrier between your operating system and your applications, where normally there was kind of a divide that protected each application from the others and made sure that no one thing could reach into all of the different parts of your life, to all of the different applications, to your Signal, to your Telegram, to your Discord, to your Gmail. All of these things were disconnected and you had control over what to talk to what. If you choose to run something like this, everything that you give it access to, essentially you should assume that the company you're sending those prompts to, that you're sending that data to, has access to all of that as well. So from a privacy angle, it opens up like a whole new paradigm where like Signal is a great example. And I love that Meredith Whitaker is talking about this because it's a really good way to think about this. Signal is fantastic. Intent encryption is unbeatable. Everyone knows that the algorithm or the cryptographic approach that they use is fantastic. But the privacy is only as good as who has access to your Signal app. And we've seen this where people add the wrong person to a group and all of the privacy that they had is gone because they chose to add someone to that group. Essentially, think of this as adding an agentic AI to all of your chats as a third party that's just looking over your shoulder, which again could be really useful, but also can be a nightmare scenario where things that you think are private because they're intent encrypted between you and the recipient are also being sent off to this third party because you're asking it to summarize your messages or something like that. So that privacy angle is obviously one that you need to be concerned with. The security one is another one that's very kind of closely intertwined where, I mean, there's already been so many instances of malware being distributed in the actual, the plays that you can run. These skills that you get from ClawHub where you can download things that people have made to help you to do something more easily rather than writing it yourself or having your local AI write it. You use someone else's skill that they've created so that you can simplify connecting into a specific app or doing a specific task, which again is great. But if you're just downloading something from the internet and then essentially running it with root permission on your computer, like this is, again, worst case scenario for security. So you need to be very, very wary of what you're actually running. Vet that things have a lot of installs, maybe even searching around to see if there have been any reports of vulnerabilities with this specific skill. Like, do your research before you allow these things. Because, I mean, as you can see in the quick start right there on screen, essentially you're just giving this thing permission to do whatever it wants in your terminal, which again isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have to be very cautious with how you allow this access into your life. I think the best suggestion so far for sure has been put this on a sanitized device that doesn't have anything else, or if it hoses your system, or if malware gets installed that tries to do like cryptojacking and steal your Bitcoin seed or something, there's nothing there for it to take. That's a great way to get started. But honestly, if this is really going to live up to its potential, it's going to need to be something that you can safely run on your main machine where you have all of the apps and tools that you need to interface with. So I think those are the biggest things for me, are thinking about the privacy, thinking about the security, and then, really just considering deeply what you want this to have access to before you actually just go crazy with it.
Some great call out there from, like, I guess, a less technical perspective. Any question that you'd have around like the implementation on this and some other things that, you know, Seth or I might have overlooked because we kind of take this stuff more for granted.
Yeah, I guess like my question would be, or one of my questions would be, let's say you bite the bullet, you say, I'm going to buy the hardware, I run this at home, I separate everything out so that it doesn't see any of my personal information. Is there anything that people need to be wary of when connecting this machine at home? So let's say it's running on the same Wi-Fi. Is that a problem? Should it be running a VPN on that machine? And can you, I assume you can do that, but you know, should you run a separate one to the VPN using on your other machines? Do you need to do any clever networking stuff? When you start putting information on there that's specific to the task that you need, like images, audio, all this stuff, if you're sending that from your personal computer across, Do you have to consider how you send it? Is there metadata that's then going to cause you problems within the stuff that you're sending over? Like, how do you do this in a way where you're not shitting on your own doorstep and jumping through hoops that you think are useful, and actually, because you've forgotten one simple thing to do with networking, you've actually fucked yourself, and now your Bitcoin's gone?
Yeah, that's some. You raised some good points there, and I'll probably defer to Seth more on the networking side of things. I don't think that this could remotely hack into another of your devices, because presumably they're or hopefully they're going to be password protected. So it still has the same protections against like your phone remotely trying to get into your machine that's running Sparrow or something like that. Like I don't think that is a risk. Could you do some more advanced stuff with networking to put it, this machine on a segregated kind of guest network? Then yeah, absolutely. Is that going to be beneficial from a security perspective? I guess, yeah, it's only going to be additive. It certainly can't do any harm. In terms of the metadata side of things, again, unless you're using this 100% locally, I would just treat it as, because the presumption would be that you're going to be using a third-party AI, and just treat it with the same kind of caution that you would as if you were just going to chatgpt.com. Like, don't put pictures of your kids on there, don't put pictures of yourself on there, don't give it your bank statements. All of that sort of stuff still applies, even though this is, I guess in air quotes, running on your local machine, which is true, but it's still calling out frequently for every single step over to the internet. And then I guess on the messenger piece, the only thing to be aware of would be Signal would obviously be the best option to be able to communicate with this. I probably wouldn't advise doing so via Discord or anything like that. And also be very careful around like how you kind of publicize the fact that you're running a bot. Like if somebody on Telegram finds your bot's handle, then in theory they can kind of send commands to the bot over that from their Telegram account. And if they're, well, I don't know actually. If it was in a group, then they would be able to come out sent. Yeah, I think maybe the API keys would prevent that. But if you unwittingly add this bot to a group, then you're going to have a bad time if there's somebody who wants to have a bit of fun in that group. So be very, very careful how you communicate with this and what you do with the bot in terms of like how, definitely don't add it to any group chats unless it's somebody that you or a group of people that you have a lot of trust in, so that because you're essentially giving them access to whatever machine that OpenClaw is running on.
Can you imagine if it added itself to the pleb miner group or the mesh to Dell? The shit that would be on my Twitter the next day.
yeah, indeed. But again, like that's where it all comes back to running this on some hardware that you control. Like just pull the plug. Like if it goes tits up, just pull the fucking plug, quite literally. And that's the power of running this on your own hardware, where you're in full physical control of, if it gets out of hand, then you can handle it.
Yeah.
One last quick call out on that. I know I said that there were 3 things, and then I only said 2 things. I brain farted and forgot the third. The third one is just like my bigger, and I've talked about this a lot, so I'm sorry if I'm beating a dead horse here, but my bigger concern with this actually goes even beyond the privacy and the security angle, where like if people start actually leveraging this for large parts of their lives and just trusting the AI blindly to do the right thing, it's a little terrifying to me. I mean, anyone who has used a iPhone or has seen on Twitter the way that Apple's AI has summarized messages in some terrifyingly bad ways, and that's like that's a very benign way that AI can screw up and make you think something terrible has happened when it actually hasn't, and throw you into panic, or just completely misunderstand the 100 group chat messages that were posted and get super confused and do that. That's just you being misinformed by trusting the AI. But on the actual side of like actually letting it post things for you, or message a friend about something, or handle some business dev conversation that you have, getting back to people, like the miscommunications and the issues and errors that you can have if you don't actually validate what it's doing can be quite broad. And that's like just again another caution of like it can be incredibly useful, but also AI is really good at bullshitting. That's like what it does well. And it could look on the surface like it's doing a good job when actually the messages that are being sent or the summaries it's giving you are just complete and utter bullshit. And it just wants to please you. So it just keeps giving you bullshit if you like that bullshit. And I know I've cursed a lot, but it's a technical term when we're talking about AI.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a technical term.
You're absolutely right.
Thank you for, and then you correct it. Thank you for pointing that out to me.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's fucking annoying. But yeah, you'd want it for review. I'd want at least like, please get all the tweets lined up, all the nostrils lined up, all the images lined up, all the clips lined up for my review. Because otherwise you are going to have problems. I'm sure you are, but that's still a massive lift. Even if you're still making the final decision, it's just doing more legwork for you. And then you probably, let's say, have to change 20%, 30% of it, and some goes in the bin and some gets adjusted and edited, but it's still a massive time save.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's always going to be two ends of the spectrum, isn't there? We've already got people. I've seen YouTube videos of like people putting their fucking credit card details in, given it to go and like book flights and stuff like that, which is absolutely horrifying. I saw one post on social, again, I have no idea to be able to verify whether this is true or not, but like somebody's OpenClaw went and signed up for like a $5,000 influencer business course, like just rinsed his entire credit card balance overnight when he just let
Nat Brunel.
I mean, for me, if that is true, then I feel like that's a valuable lesson that individual has learned. We've also got the bots now. There's literally APIs being built for bot-centric wallets where, again, they can have their own Bitcoin, Lightning, eCash wallets where they can go and do things with that on the internet and pay other bots. Like, this is a wild new, I guess, paradigm shift that we're heading into. Yeah. And I think that there is always going to be, or should be, that level of human backstop to be able to, define, okay, these are the things that you can go and do without me. Anything that involves spending money, maybe over a certain threshold, you come to me. And like, as long as that's all enforced within open source code, like I would be, open to the idea of doing that in the future, because I think, that there is some value to be had there. But just giving these things like God mode to your main computer and giving it your credit card details is a recipe for disaster and a place that I could never, ever see myself getting into in any way, shape or form. All right, so we do have some questions, but before I go into the questions, and there's a couple of comments here rather than questions as well, I'm going to bring up that we can discuss, guys. Anything else you want to cover off in terms of like final takeaways?
Yeah, just one more thing that jumped out at me. I was just double checking this because I was pretty sure that they'd announced it. Maple AI, and we've had them on the show before and have talked about them quite a bit. One really cool thing that they actually released fairly recently, when was this? Actually a few months ago, September now, is what's called Maple Proxy. Basically, it's a service that you can run either through their desktop app or you can run it in Docker or Docker Compose that lets you expose a OpenAI compatible, like ChatGPT compatible AI endpoint or API endpoint that is actually pointed to your Maple account. So you'll have the good privacy that Maple has inherently. They're doing it in encryption with their prompts and getting the info back to you. But you're able to essentially pretend to OpenClaw that this is a ChatGPT instance. And so you can get a lot of the benefits of a remote AI that's going to be a remote model or remote, that's much faster than anything you could run at home, but still having really good security. So that's honestly probably the best option right now if you want to try it and you don't have the hardware to run it at home. would be to try Maple AI. You would have to do their pro plan, at least. Their paid plans are the ones, obviously, that do have API access. But you can just do it for a month, or you can pay with Bitcoin and get a discount. And that will give you a good user experience while still having good privacy in the day. And honestly, that's probably how I'm going to try it. I'll probably resubscribe to Maple and try OpenClaw with that, so that I don't have to actually run it at home, but I'm still going to have good privacy in the end of the day. So just wanted to plug that real quick.
That's an excellent call, actually. Their pro plan, what does that set you back?
Is it $100
it's
or
20
something, isn't it?
It's 20 a month. So they have a max plan that is 100 a month, but their pro is just 20 a month, or 18 a month
plan
if you pay with Bitcoin.
Is literally just for me. It's exactly the same. You get the same. You just pay more.
Only if you're named Max. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're
the
an absolute
max
retard.
tax.
Pulled it up on screen. Just pulled it up on screen.
Oh,
there
nice.
you go. It's $100 a month, which is that the minimum?
That's the max. You don't have to get the max.
You need to get the API access.
No, Max was just joking. You can do the pro. Okay. Yeah, pro and up all support the API endpoint that you need for running the Maple proxy.
That's a. And once you're within that, can you choose the model? Yeah, it says 7 powerful models. Okay, so you have a choice within that single API usage of whichever of those 7 models that you want to use. Is that right?
Yep. And you can choose that in the Maple proxy backend too. So you can choose which model you want to use in the day. They got those 7 different ones that are all laid out. I dropped the blog post actually that they made about the Maple proxy, which has details on like how to run it, what models are available, all of that in chat. So it's probably going to be people's best bet if they actually care about privacy right now, or self-hosting something if they're a little bit more hardcore.
That's a really great call, actually, because for me, the next step on this journey, other than just carving out more time to play around with it, is to go for some sort of paid plan with an API access so that I can start trying to stretch this thing's legs a little bit and seeing, because I have no idea how far that $20 a month would go. Like, am I going to burn through it in 3 days? Is it going to last me the month? Is it going to be more than enough? I don't have a good feeling for that at the moment. So for me, figuring that out is going to be the next step. And obviously, all of the different providers are going to burn through tokens at different rates because they all seem to, well, that's the way they work. They burn through tokens at a different rate depending on the model that you choose. So I'm sure there's a happy medium. Listeners, watchers, if you have any prior experience with that, and you're the best kind of balance between not spending hundreds of dollars a month, but also being able to get a good enough output from the AI that rivals what you can get from ChatGPT or Claude, please do let me know. I'm curious on that one. Okay, right. Let me just kill the screen share. We are almost at time. Let's go through a couple of quick questions. I do have a hard stop. So where can I get a spare number to chat with it on Signal, and how can I chat with it on Nostr? I'll answer the Nostr bit first. You can DM it on Nostr. Nostr DMs is one of the communication preferences. You can basically, just when you go through the TUI, the terminal user interface, you'll have a list of all of the chat things. Nostr DMs is one of them. I haven't actually done it. Just be mindful that I think it uses the naive Nostr DMs. So, yes, it's encrypted, but none of the metadata is. So it's probably not the best option to be communicating with. In terms of getting a spare number to chat with it on Signal, probably something like maybe text verified, guys. You got any other better alternatives?
You just have to be careful with Signal, because if you ever need to get that account back, you have to be able to access that phone number. So if you're okay, like if you're literally using this only for chatting with your OpenClaw and it's not for other messages, and you don't care if that account just ceases to exist one day because you break your phone or something and you can't recover because you don't have access to that phone number anymore, you could do that, but that's just the one caveat, is to get back into your account, you have to have access to that phone number. So you could easily get yourself locked out of it if you use a kind of one-time SMS verification service. You could just have a whole nother like phone line for that, or find something else. But honestly, one that actually has SMS is a bit of a pain in the ass to find nowadays, or you're going to pay $15 or $20 a month for it, which is obviously painful for that. So some other solution like Nostr DMs would probably be better. Yeah, it's a little painful, but I mean, yeah.
Cool, thanks. All right, let's whiz through some questions. So Two Blue on X, Ollama local agent or Maple AI, what's the best balance for privacy but productive enough to make a difference? If you can stretch to that $20 plan and you're not a heavy user, I'd imagine that's probably going to fulfill most of your needs. I don't have any local experience, so I don't know like whether just installing a small Ollama on like a generic laptop is going to be enough for most people. I don't have a good feel of that, but in my experience, I've been using Claude for work stuff just on the $20 a month plan. I hit my limits quite regularly on that, but I would say I'm more of a heavy user in recent weeks when I'm getting it to do more research type of thing. So as always, it really depends on what your what you're kind of asking of the AI. Basically, if you're just using it as a glorified search engine, then the free one or the local stuff is probably going to be okay. But yeah, what about you guys? Any other comments on that one?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think we touched on it a lot already. I think Maple AI, man, is probably the best place to like try it. Like do a month of Maple AI and see if you actually are benefiting from OpenClaw and if it actually makes sense. And then if you really love it and you're hitting limits or something, or you can do something cheaper, like you don't want to go for the max plans, $100 a month, and you'd rather buy $1,000 souped up Mac Mini or something, you can always go from there. But obviously start small. I know there was a mention earlier of like buy whatever hardware you want to play around with, but a lot of this stuff fades pretty quickly. So just make sure there's actually use for you before you jump into actually getting separate hardware for this and everything.
Yeah, that's a good call out. It can be quite easy to get swept up in the hype of this sort of stuff and be tempted to shell out a load of money. And this stuff is changing literally on a daily basis at the moment. So unless you have a real need to be at the cutting edge, I wouldn't go shelling out thousands of dollars on new hardware just to play with this sort of stuff. Unless you've got plenty of change in the bank. Another comment. This was a useful comment actually from Sir Jamsalot on X to one of your retweets of this, I think, Seth. He said, this is summarized, by the way, Sir Jamsalot, so I've only got so much space on screen, but he said basically you've got to choose between privacy or cost. A 7K Mac Studio lets you run models locally, avoiding privacy risk at a 500 plus per month API cost. You can finance it and own your AI long term. Go for 128 gigs of RAM minimum, 256 gigabytes ideal, and the best models include Opus, Kimi, Quen, Coda, and GL-M5. Sir Jamsalot, sounds like you've got some experience here. I might be sliding into your DMs, but appreciate the insights. And then one final comment from Weirdo Robot on Nosta. He said, referring to me talking about how quickly you can burn through your tokens, he said, if OpenClaw is anything like Claude, which I guess it can be if you use the Anthropic backend, you can burn through your time allotted credits on the $20 tier very easily. And that is also my experience been using the Claude desktop app for similar sorts of stuff. Obviously, it's all the same on the back end. So yeah, I guess to cap it off, guys, I would just say go out and play with some of the free back end options. Obviously, if you're doing that, you need to be very conscious of the information that you're sharing with the AI. Other than that, the next step would be trying Maple AI on one of their cheaper tiers. See how far you can make that monthly stretch. Get that plugged into your OpenClaw. I think that's going to be my homework over the weekend. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Seth. And then if you start hitting your limits, then you're going to have to start considering either ponying up for some decent hardware at home, or probably the better option would be paying for a bigger tier on one of the API providers. Obviously, Maple being a great option from a privacy perspective, and of course you can pay in Bitcoin. Guys, any final comments before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered the bulk of this. Yeah, it's an exciting thing. I definitely sound like a doomer whenever I'm talking about this stuff. Old man yell at cloud vibes, but there's cool stuff about it. But
it's important,
you just have to proceed with caution.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's countless feedback in the past couple of weeks of people literally getting wrecked with this sort of stuff. So you do need to be very careful. Don't just chase the new thing all the time and throw away all your privacy. Max?
Yeah, no, it's been good. I'm still not going to dip my toe in yet. I'm sure we're going to revisit this in the coming months. So I'm just going to keep watching from afar and let the smart people do their thing. But thank you to everyone who's posted in advice. I think, was it Sir Jams a lot who just said about the Mac and all that kind of stuff? That's all helpful stuff.
Yep.
So anyone else who has any advice, just let us know. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Until next week, stay ungovernable.
Thank you for listening to Freedom Tech Friday. To everyone who boosted, asked questions, and participated in the show, we appreciate you all. Make sure to join us next week on Friday at 9 a.m. EST and 2 p.m. London. Thanks to Seth, Max, and Q for keeping it ungovernable. And thank you to Cake Wallet, Foundation, and my NIM box for keeping the ungovernable misfits going. Make sure to check out ungovernablemisfits.com to see Mr. Crown's incredible skills and artwork. Listen to the other shows in the feed to hear Kareem's world-class editing skills. Thanks to Expatriotic for keeping us up to date with boosts, XMR chats, and sending in topics. John, great name and great guy, never change and never stop keeping us up to date with mining news or continuing to grow the Meshtadel. Finally, a big thanks to the unsung hero, our Canadian overlord, Jordan, for trying to keep the ungovernable in check and for the endless work he puts in behind the scenes. We love you all. Stay ungovernable.